Dynamic entry, welcome back to the channel, guys, and today we're going to be discussing the best season in the world according to most everybody, and that's going to be fall. And I think it's everyone's favorite season just because it makes us feel nostalgic in a way. It takes us back to a happier time in our lives, but also the surroundings outside look better and they feel better, and it just makes us feel warm and fuzzy inside. And today, that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about some of the things, or rather the anime, that make us feel warm and cozy inside. But I want to talk about a specific era in anime that made me feel the most cozy and warm inside. And when I think about fall, I imagine these shows playing in the background. Now, I believe we've done a video about this before. I'll post it right here a few years ago, where we talked about some of the best shows to watch during the fall time, and I want to take that a step further and discuss why I think that the 90s and early 2000s anime are the most coziest of them all. And I don't know if that it's because that I associate these shows with the time in which I was younger, that it makes me feel more cozy, but more often than not, I resort to putting these shows on while I want to just sit back and relax and not really pay attention too deeply into what is happening on my screen. Because even though there is a growing fan base of this specific kind of anime, and there even is just like a slice of life genre on Crunchyroll and other sites where you can watch things, I do think that a lot of modern day anime focus more on like the action, and it's more story driven than before. And I'm not saying that shows from the 90s don't have good storylines. I feel like some of them are the best, and even still to this day are regarded as some of the best storylines ever told. I'm just thinking that back then it wasn't so focused on telling a good story, more as the fact that, hey, we're just happy to be here and in front of different audiences every week, so we want to kind of just enjoy and figure out the landscape of where we're at. Anime like Pokemon come to mind. That's one of the first anime that I remember even laying my eyes on, and at that time I didn't know what it was, but like every other kid growing up, we were into it, we were loving it. And I feel like going back and now watching some of them, it's some of my favorite things to put on, because you can just throw it on in the background like I mentioned earlier. You don't really have to pay attention, but it does feel super nostalgic. It's just because those early animations and designs of the Pokemon feel really cool, and the storyline itself isn't super deep, but you feel cool watching it when they do end up fighting. And then when the movie came out, it just went to a whole nother level. But at the time, it still feels like nice and warm to me, seeing that and just being happy. And maybe that is associated with the fact that Pokemon itself makes you feel, you know, as a child, very like happy and warm, like basically seeing your pets grow up with you. And the anime itself has evolved past that, and the newer animation I feel like doesn't capture as much of that like heart of the early series, and I just do think it's a testament of the time on which everything was animated differently. You know, I don't know the exact process, but it does feel very like, you know, very hand-drawn in 2D, where everything now kind of feels more like not as hand-drawn and as much time taken on it. Even though the scenes are much grander and they look better, I just feel like the older, like very first images and shows that we got from Pokemon, it made me feel like a certain way, a different vibe. And then there were the more serious shows like Dragon Ball Z, which I really loved. The early Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z specifically, whenever I watch them, again, I just feel like a child when it comes on. I sit down and I watch it, but I don't have to be super locked into it to really like enjoy it. I can come in and out. A lot of the times I can put this old episodes on and just fall asleep to them, just because I know the story so well at this point, but also they don't focus so heavily on story. It's just mainly like, hey, we're gonna fight, yada yada, whatever. And again, the animation for the time makes me feel like it comes from a different time, because it does. And the same thing with Pokemon. It's evolved past that now, and it feels way different. But the early Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z stuff is some of the best stuff to just hang out and watch with your friends, because everybody enjoys it and knows the story well enough to this point. And even if you were to show it to somebody new, they could probably get into it really easily, and they wouldn't feel super overwhelmed by it. Like a lot of the newer stories, it's could be harder to convince somebody to watch it. But with Dragon Ball Z, it doesn't feel like that. It's just like, hey, there's some cool guys who fight. You like fighting? Watch this. And even shows like Yu Yu Hakusho, which focused a lot on the fighting, had a deeper story. So if you wanted to go deeper in like a story-driven show, I think Yu Yu Hakusho was a good breaking point from Dragon Ball Z. Like you can go, hey, this is a different show. It's about fighting, but it's a little bit darker and edgier. And at the time watching it, and I think a lot of the early Toonami Days shows have the same thing, where we in America are watching the dub, not the sub. So a lot of the voice acting goes into it as well, because they take it at a slower pace, especially in Yu Yu Hakusho. They have to match like the lip flaps and everything, and that slow pace I think helps me feel a bit more like cozy and like you're not really locked super into it, but when you do like happen to like catch like a few minutes of it just like straight on without like looking at your phone or something, you can see how cool the story really is. But also you don't really need to. You can just kind of have it on and then like kind of look up every once in a while and see people fighting and seeing like these cool designs on your screen, the way that they're, you know, one of the most fashionable shows ever, shows you to itself, basically shows itself to you. And yeah, I think that the dub aspect of it really does help me feel more like nostalgic while watching it. And it is another good show to watch around this time, fall time, because it does fit the like spooky kind of era of it, you know, the ghost files of it, the Yu Yu Hakusho spirit detective type vibe of it. But even in the world of sports, anime as a genre was finding its footing in every aspect of media, I suppose, and sports was another big one where they were trying to explore. So shows like Hajime no Ippo and Slam Dunk, stuff like that even felt cozy to an extent. Even though if you go back and watch Ippo now, it can fire you up, like you want to just become like the best at whatever field you're in. Seeing it and watching it, again, the dub aspect of it, it's not too grating on the ears, and it does feel very like homey, especially like the relationships that we see grow in that show. It makes you feel very like, oh, this is welcoming, I want to watch more of this. And you can blow through like 7, 8, 9 episodes of it in a night, and that's like a whole thing now. It's like as you get older, it's harder to watch like anime like on a binge. I think it's more so the fact that back then there wasn't a lot of stuff happening to you and a lot of information given to you. It was very surface level. Like, okay, Ippo, he wants to become the best boxer in the world. Okay, so let's see him train for a few episodes and then finally fight. Whereas now in the modern day shonen, we're giving a lot of plot and exposition and action sequences and all this stuff that it is kind of draining to watch over time. So we can get like maybe 2, 3 episodes if you're lucky in one night. But the 90s early anime, it's just you can blow through them because there's not a lot happening. It just feels like you're in that world and you're vibing along with what they're showing you on the screen. And it's very soft with the animation. Again, the dubbing is not super grating, and that all adds to like a more, I guess, comforting experience overall. And I mean, there are, like I mentioned earlier, shows in the modern era that fit like the cozy aesthetic, and there's even like ones that are part of like the slice of life, like I mentioned. Even shows that are like main shonen, like even Sakamoto Days now and Dr. Stone, I feel like you can feel the same things that you felt watching those back in the day, where it's not super, you know, analytical, you're just kind of vibing with it, although we know that it gets deeper in the later seasons for these shows. But in the earlier seasons where we're at now, you can kind of throw them on and kind of feel the same vibe as you're watching it. But I just feel like the earlier days just feels a little bit more easy to watch and a little bit more easygoing. And for them, they didn't really have to try to fit into this aesthetic, whereas now shows are made specifically to fit in that genre on purpose. So it feels a little bit like not as earned as the earlier shows feel. But I feel like you can apply this logic to a lot of aspects like sports or movies or TV, where like the earlier days of those media feel a lot more nostalgic and like a little bit more easygoing, and you feel like we can't ever get back to that point. And the same thing applies for anime. Like, will we ever get back to that point in which we feel like it comes easier, it comes natural to them, and that they're, you know, regarded as classics in the future because of what they did for the time? I don't know if it's possible for, you know, anime to reach that point again. Maybe that's just result of years of practice now that we're like about almost 40 years into anime as a whole, that of course it's going to evolve. It's not always going to stay how it was back then, but it's nice to look back on it and be like, you know, that felt like a good time back then. Like, it makes me feel like a child going back on it. And even now, shows that are out now that might be ending, like, you know, My Hero Academia or Attack on Titan, we'll go back in a few years and be like, oh man, that was, you know, some good time in anime. Like, they don't make them like that, they like how they used to. You know, that whole thing. So really the whole point of this video, I didn't want to just make another list of like, oh, shows you can watch during the fall time, because we did that already. I wanted to show love to the older anime and show, I guess, or explore why they felt more nostalgic than some of the newer stuff does. And I feel like you can just go back and watch any of the early, you know, 90s and 2000s anime, and you can feel cozy. So if you are looking for something to watch during the fall time, something where you don't need to really focus on too much, like you want to like play some games and just have it on the background or whatever, any of these shows that I mentioned, but also any of these shows from this time, I feel like really could fit that description. So yeah, in a way, I guess early anime did it better, right guys? Like, it doesn't get any better than the early anime. No, that's not the truth here. But I do think that that was a golden era in anime, and it probably will never be replicated again, but that's okay because we move past eras and we go into new eras. So I welcome all versions of it, but during the fall time, let's show a little bit of love to the older shows. And yeah, that's the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully you take some time out of your day to go explore some of these older shows. And yeah, if you have any of your favorite shows that you like watching or revisiting during this time, you can comment them down below. Let me know what they are. Some of like your least favorite shows to watch, or some of the most draining ones to you. Also down below. I like to read them all. I appreciate all of it. And also, we are at 600 subscribers now. We passed that mark, so thank you guys for everybody who subscribed. I'm happy about that. Let's keep going. 700 next. We got to keep hitting these milestones because, you know, it makes me feel good inside. So thank you guys for watching. As always, you can follow us down below in the links. Also subscribe. All that stuff is down below. And until next time, go cozy up with somebody and watch something.